I'm a professional sewer. I'm in charge of all the leather that goes into the Cirrus Aircrafts. Our goal is to have everything done perfectly the first time. I take my job very serious. We all touch this, and at the end of the day, we all get to walk around and see the finished product. And when it is installed on a seat frame, it is a work of art. So here's the deal. When we get something crazy from Cirrus, like our new 500 series, our first reaction, of course, is a momentary of panic. However, we know Cirrus has our back, and the 500 series is one of our biggest challenges so far, and it's going to be epic.
Another small jet is beginning to appear in the skies, the Cirrus SF-50 Vision Jet, and it's everything Cirrus said it would be.
Innovation is in Cirrus's DNA.
We knew that we had the formula to make something unique that the market would want.
This is a bet the company proposition.
There was absolutely no doubt in our mind.
You guys will figure it out.
It's been a hell of a ride.
We have not lost our ability to innovate, and now we're building our 500th Vision Jet.
The purpose hasn't changed, the passion hasn't changed.
This is a product that will span the test of time. And we started in the basement of our barn. It was a dairy farm. Kicked the cows out, poured a new floor in the basement, moved in, started making the first tools of our VK30 in there. We were experimenters, trying new things. You know, we'd never done most of the things that we were working on. We had to learn how to make tools and make parts. Of course, the design, you get into tremendous details in a design. And after the VK30, you know, I described the design for our sales as an unsuccessful kit plane. But in reality, it was incredibly successful design because it created a momentum for us. Everybody in the industry knew the airplane. Our first design was the biggest, one of the fastest, most capable airplanes in the experimental industry. When we started on the SR, we had a vision of a family of airplanes, but our first design, the VK30, incredibly unique, futuristic, dynamic airplane, very, very jet-like. From those very early drawings, building a jet-like airplane with a propeller on the back always spurred that dream of someday we're not going to have a propeller on the back.
Cirrus Aircraft has grown into one of the major players in the general aviation industry.
Around the early 2000s, we were already developing the SR. In fact, we had already certified it. It was time to start actually taking dreams and transitioning into something that was real. And I think the original vision that we had was, how do we give the customers that next step?
The idea that you could make a jet airplane that was accessible to a typical Cirrus pilot, that was their core concept.
Our second design, actually just before the SR, was a single-engine turboprop. Very, very jet-like. Timing was important because while we were dreaming of this airplane, we had another company, Williams International, dreaming about how they're going to power this airplane.
We took Mike Van Stagen, who was a brilliant young designer, and we sent him to a West Duluth garage to start taking these ideas and really putting them into reality.
I look back on those times and I laugh because we would constantly create a lot of different kinds of aircraft.
I would say we explored lots of different ideas. I'd almost say any idea that somebody came up with.
I was bringing in model after model after model.
Mike Van Stagen created the size, the shape, the feel that we were after.
And as I was modeling the difference between the twin engine and the single engine, I realized that we could make the entire cockpit a lot wider and longer if we had a single engine as opposed to the twin. And voila, that was really what brought the whole cabin into reality, was this accidental discovery that a single engine could offer.
The simplicity of a single turbofan was intriguing.
You can put the engine on top, you can put it on the bottom.
Is it embedded in the aft fuselage?
Can you put a single engine on just the left side or the right side?
Is it up on a tail like a DC-10?
You can bury it inside.
So we started honing in on the trade-off on all these balances.
But then you come to the tail. There's 3 options for the tail. You can blast the vertical. You can put on an H-tail, kind of like a helicopter. It's a T-tail, but 2 of them. The V-tail very quickly became just the obvious solution.
We knew that we could do a great airplane based off the SR-20 and the SR-22. We didn't know exactly how difficult the SF-50 was going to be.
Some of the debates, obviously, we debated over 1 door or 2 doors.
I was a little worried in the early days that it was underpowered. We corrected that.
We debated over the size of the airplane.
Systems development was pretty challenging.
Debated over what altitude the airplane should fly at.
We were kind of at a point where I'm not sure the team believed they could do it.
The market was there for it. I knew that if we could successfully complete it, that it would be a great airplane.
You know, there certainly was debates. I don't think there was ever a time that somebody said this product won't be successful. We all knew it was going to be successful.
First prototype airplane flies. It is as vivid today of where I'm standing, and there's no way to describe, so much investment, emotional investment, engagement from the team.
There was all this built-up excitement, but I don't think people really knew what to expect.
The values that we got out of V1 were incredible. Remember, it lived on engineering diagrams, it lived in CAD models, it did all of this testing on the computer, but you still have to go verify that it flies well, it flies like a Cirrus.
You could see that it had good potential.
But we also know in 2008, that was a time when some of the economic challenges that hit the industry, and it forced us to pause and think. In an interesting way, it actually made us better and stronger to get to where we've come to today.
And 0-10, 24 frames. And action! I'm going to tell you a little bit about the areas of interest that we're working on with our V1 test airplane.
The company wouldn't be exactly the same company if it were not for Dave.
Dave is a very unique individual.
Dave Rathman is no longer here, and his loss has left a profound hole in who and what we are.
Without Dave, it's possible the airplane would have gotten done, but it wouldn't be the airplane it is today.
I always felt like I was a student when I was around him. There wasn't anything that I could talk about with him about the airplane that he didn't know what worked and what didn't work and what we should have done better.
Dave's fingerprints and DNA are all over the SF-50. The flight deck was really where Dave shined. It's made for doing what people do with little airplanes, but it does it like no other airplane does it.
He was a blessing in my life and a blessing in the life of Cirrus, and he is missed. But that is a testament to who he was and what he was and how he knew how to think. Hardly a better testament than 500 Vision Jets in the marketplace to Dave Rathman than this milestone that we've achieved.
So I'm not going to lie, given the difficulty it was causing to the program,
questioning on weight and cost and some of those things,
I recommended we get rid of caps. Dave would not accept that answer. He held fast to the idea that this airplane was going to have a parachute on it, and we were going to find a way to make it work.
There were 2 times in this program, for me personally, I'm thinking, boy, what happens next could go either way. One was the original flight itself, and the other one was one that's just so important to just the core of who we are.
Cirrus is known as the airplane with the parachute. it's conventional wisdom to say, well, if we're going to do a jet, of course it's going to have a parachute. And one of the things that we learned during the SR deployments is that, these are seriously high-risk flight testing activities. But there was still this sort of nagging question of, do we do a manned deployment? And we felt that it was important for us and for our customers to demonstrate that we were in fact willing to do that.
And we spent countless hours going through numerous types of tests, trying out various systems, whether it was parachute size, how to extract the parachute.
They spent endless hours dropping 6,000-pound payloads into the desert.
We wanted to understand the deployment characteristics of the parachute at high speed. Dave said, well, let's just buy a race car and get up to the necessary speed and put a parachute on there and deploy it from that. And we did.
We collected all that data. We bombed the desert with different canopy designs. We did all of that. And all of those tests led to the manned deployment test.
And that test that Mike Stevens did out near the Mojave Desert in California, that's a day that's impossible to forget.
Midday, hotter than heck, if I recall. Contract pilot Len Fox, a pretty famous guy, gave me a call and said, hey, Mike, I can't do the test.
He knew that it was something that was important to the company, important to the customers, and he signed up for it.
You imagine flying formation, and the airplane in front of you goes from 100 knots to 0 knots, just like that.
And I remember the sort of the hair going up on the back of my neck. I'm like, oh my gosh, Mike's under parachute.
Feels like a bomb going off somewhere around your feet. It's just another day of work, and check in and say, hey, honey, guess what I did today?
Mike Stevens gave us all a gift, and that's confidence in the parachute system in the jet.
It highlights the courage that our team takes to take care of our customers. They put sometimes their life on the line, their families, to make sure that they're making things right.
We had a responsibility to our customers, and we proved the design, and we know in our heart of hearts that we built a system that not only we trust, that you should trust too.
What's so special about the 500 Vision Jet is that it actually validates a very important part in the general aviation market.
Every single day, we're telling everybody who we are and what we stand for and what we're going to do. To connect people, connect families, connect friends, and keep that Cirrus life going. 500 is just a milestone along the way.
To celebrate the 500th Vision Jet, we've created a whole new design inspired by the last 500 Vision Jets, but thinking about the future 500. A defining characteristic of the Vision Jet is the V-tail. I mean, look at this thing. For us on the design team, we have such a cool shape to work from. It's one of the benefits of a clean sheet design, is you're able to think about not just the way the plane works, but also how it looks. Approaching the 500th Vision Jet, one of the first things you'll notice is the obsidian mica gloss black wing. Now this color actually travels up the fuselage and into the engine. It's one of my favorite details because it's so dramatic. We feature some signature colors on the exterior of the 500th, starting with the Vision Blue. That color has been part of the Vision Jet story since day one. And we wanted the interior to feel technical, just like the exterior. And we really brought that home through the seats, through the material selections, and carrying in some of the colors that you find on the exterior. The design team has been involved since day one on the Vision Jet story. And we really work that into our designs every single time. It's not a secret that we're always making things better, and one would expect that those things would continue.
When you're in the middle of the process here, sometimes you don't step back and think about it. but it really is a big milestone.
Boy, the Vision Jet actually getting to 500 airplanes, and more importantly, seeing ridiculous demand is really, really exciting.
Here we are today, now delivered more airplanes in a shorter period of time than anyone else in the competitive market set.
I think when we pause and think about the 500th, the one thing I want us all to reset on is that this is a clean sheet design that did not exist 20 years ago.
If not for the Vision Jet, it's hard to imagine a path to being a jet pilot.
So many people are experiencing personal transportation to levels never seen before.
So I think as much as the airplane sort of takes center stage and sort of the 500th one will take center stage, the reality is that everything around that supports the ownership and operation of the airplane has grown even more than the 500.
To reach 500 and see the enthusiasm maybe even stronger than it was at the first delivery, you're constantly re-energized to like go climb another mountain.
At the end of the day, we are a company about people. The people that had the idea, the bold, audacious idea of a plane with a parachute or a single engine jet that you pushed a button and could land itself. Those people weren't just innovators and thinkers and pioneers, they were artists and craftsmen. The people in Grand Forks, North Dakota, the people in Duluth, Minnesota, the people that are our partners, and the people and the families that are flying and owning and operating these airplanes, that are all working collaboratively to bring this airplane to market 500 times over.
20, 30 years from now, when people say jet, they're going to think of a Cirrus SF50.
There's probably no prouder moment for this company and for all our owners and operators that the airplane they're flying around in is a Collier Award winner.
This trophy is for all of you.
The fact that we're sitting here delivering the 500th Vision Jet is again another testament to the dedication and the qualities of those personalities every step of the way.
And the 500th airplane is the ultimate embodiment of how we do that magically at Cirrus Aircraft.